Mortal Kombat 11 followed up on the fairly awesome stories of 9 and X with the Hourglass arc, which is Mortal Kombat's most contentious and poorly written story arc. Mashing together the NRS timeline with the 90s Midway era, excluding MK4, creates fun fan-fiction-y fan service moments, but also deconstructs a plot line that was building into something truly amazing. Going out of MKX, I was looking forward to the next game's plot being centered around Dark Raiden and his attempted subjugation of Outworld. And at the beginning of MK11, this is done fairly well, with the battle between the Special Forces and Liu Kang's horde of demons. Quickly though, time travel is introduced, and while Mortal Kombat was able to get away with a time travel reboot once, it's not something a story can do multiple times, especially in the middle of a pretty good plotline. Ever since NRS took up the helm, Mortal Kombat has been centered around the arcade era of Mortal Kombat, with the 3D era being almost completely ignored. Introducing Kronika and the Hourglass allowed Boon & Co. to bring arcade era characters back from the dead, which, while bad for the overall story of Mortal Kombat, gave us some sweet endings for a host of fan-favorite characters. MK11's story might be dreadful, but the same can't be said for its arcade ending suite, save for a few stinkers. All of these endings are technically canon too, given the muddled multiverse mixture NRS has gone with for their MK1 plot. You're watching Rayl Deal Games, and in this video I'll be ranking every Mortal Kombat 11 ending from worst to best. I'll be ranking these endings based on their story, voice acting work, and portraiture. With all of that established, let's dive right in. Number 37.
Vermin. That is the humanoid word for the chitin and our fellow insectoids. But with the Hourglass, this one can review history and give lie to that myth. Humanoids live to kill. Without a common enemy to fight, they divide, destroy each other. Insectoids live to survive. No conflicts divide us. We build upon each other. Kin does not kill kin. So tell this one, who are the vermin? Time for this one to write a more just history. One in which pesky humanoids finally take the places they deserve, scrambling beneath our feet.
D'Vorah is my least favorite character of the ones introduced in the NRS era. Her ending in MKX was good, which is why it landed at number 7 on that list. D'Vorah's claim that insectoids don't kill each other is just not true either, as ant hives are known to go to war against each other and will even take slaves gained through conquest back home. It is believable that she could look into the past and come to her conclusion though, since it is natural for everyone to view themselves differently than those they consider lesser than them. Number 36.
Shit sounds cool, right? The power to control time, immortality, destiny. Well, let me tell you, this job sucks. There's no pay, no weekends, and your shift lasts forever. The only smart play is to turn back time and give it back to Kronika. Bet your ass she's grateful too. I didn't ask her for much, just a chance to take out anyone who's ever tried to burn me. Black Dragon was always more of a gig than a brotherhood anyway. Now I get to live large, enjoying the simple life of a well-to-do family man. And if Shao Kahn or Shinnok ever come knocking, my family and I'll take them down, just like I took down Shinnok's mom.
Kabal and Serena is an odd ship, especially since there's never been any evidence of a romance between these two characters at this point in MK's history. Kabal's decision to return the power of the Hourglass to Kronika is a weird one too. Nothing is stopping Kronika from just deleting Kabal from existence by killing his father, mother, grandparents, or any other important ancestor thousands of years before his birth. He could have very easily just hid the Hourglass away and lived out his life the way he wants to, thereby eliminating the risk of being deleted. As it stands, this is a major Kabal L. Number 35.
I made my future self a promise that I would not stay mired in the past. But once I controlled the Hourglass, I could not keep that promise. I had to restore my family. Over and over, I crafted the sands of time. Yet in every new timeline, my family's tragedy repeated. I was powerless to change it. After eons, I learned the truth. Kronika was not alone. She was one of many titans, each more powerful and ancient than the Elder Gods. It is they who conspire against us. Myself, my family, we are pawns in their game. Why? I do not know. But I will find out. And then, I will have vengeance.
The way this ending starts out with Midway-era Scorpion trying to reset time to get his family back is great, but the way it shifts to focus on his conflict with other Titans isn't. Mortal Kombat 1 shows that NRS don't plan to continue with this cosmic threat plotline they tease in this game with endings like Scorpion's. This is demonstrative of one of NRS's biggest writing problems, where they can't seem to ever stick with any plotline they foreshadow via the ending suites. Each game moves on to something beyond what's teased in the previous game, which is just not how the 3D era games worked. Making Scorpion fight and destroy kaiju-sized titans isn't surprising since this is Boone's favorite character we're talking about here. Scorpion's invasion ending from MK1 is much better, and is what this ending should have been. Number 34.
I'd snuffed out every devil in hell until Netherrealm invaders showed up to piss me off. It would have cost a lot of power fighting them alone. But they were being hunted by my new friends. Call them Fire and Ice. They argue constantly, which is why I usually like to roll solo. But when it comes to killing demonic assholes, these guys don't flinch. I can get along with that. The Grandmasters tipped me off to Kronika. Said she was resurrecting some Netherrealm god named Shinnok. But that's not happening on my watch. Kronika's just as much a devil as Malbosia. Both make promises, both tell lies, both underestimate me. That's why I'll make a new hell for them, where they can burn together for eternity. The Netherrealm's locked down, but there's still 8 hells left to purge. It's time to bring up the reserves. I made choices in my life that sealed my fate. I'm beyond redemption. But even the damned are capable of doing some good. So all you devils out there, making false promises and spewing lies, we're coming. And you don't have a chance in hell.
This is the one ending where I'm not 100% confident on my placement. I don't know essentially anything about Spawn, and if I knew more about the character, I might like this one a bit better. It is cool that the cancelled Mortal Kombat Fire and Ice game, which was an ill-fated sequel to Shaolin Monks, is referenced here. Fans of Spawn should drop a comment below to let me know where they'd place this ending on the list with their more complete knowledge of the character. Number 33.
Of course I defeated Kronika, and when I did, there was only one thing I wanted to do with the hourglass. Undo the defeat of my ancestor, the Great Kung Lao. In my timeline, the Great Kung Lao is the undisputed Mortal Kombat champion. Earthrealm never loses another tournament. For generations, his example inspires millions to join the White Lotus Society and defend Earthrealm. They in turn inspire rebels to overthrow Shao Kahn in Outworld. The realms make peace. Until, inevitably, a more powerful enemy comes along and finds Earthrealm backed by Kung Lao, immortal lord of time and warrior supreme. Beat that, Liu Kang.
NRS has shown time and again that, other than Kenshi, they hate the 3D era of Mortal Kombat. This is the first time NRS referenced Onaga beyond a frame or two of Dark Raiden's flashback to MK1992 Raiden in MK9, and he, despite being the strongest individual villain in the MK universe, is killed by Kung Lao in one strike. By the time MK11 came out, I was craving any hints of him appearing again in future games, and this appearance of Onaga is as disrespectful and disappointing as Shujinko's in Cassie Cage's MKX ending. NRS's version of Kung Lao is also a bastardization of the Midway Kung Lao, as NRS's iteration is extremely cocky for no reason. The one thing I do like about this ending is how Kung Lao rewrites the outcome of the Great Kung Lao's battle with Goro. Number 32.
None of us saw Kronika coming, not even Raiden. But with the hourglass, I can see every terror in the realms. Any sane person would run screaming at the sight of them. It's my duty to take out these ancient, all-powerful beings. But to do that, I need an elite squad of immortal gods. Turns out, to make a new god, you've got to destroy an old one. So I hunt the oldest I can find, an omni-deity from a forgotten, unpronounceably named realm. It's the fight of my life, but I've got something this god doesn't. Family. In my past, these were the people who mattered most. Now, they're my god squad. My daughter, my brother in arms, my goddaughter. Yep, even Johnny. But only because Cassie insisted. And maybe I missed him a little. Just don't let him know that.
Sonya rounded out the bottom of my endings rankings videos for MK9 and MKX because it was clear that NRS's writers clearly just didn't know where to take her character. Her MK11 ending is a bit better, but it is also fairly hokey, in the same way Scorpion's is. This Titan plotline just didn't go anywhere, as the Titans were replaced by other Time Lords like Titan Shang Tsung in the main campaign of MK1. There is some emotional appeal with Sonya's choices for her God Squad, which is pretty cool, but this is another missed opportunity for this character, especially when it's juxtaposed with Johnny and Cassie's amazing pair of endings. Number 31.
In the beginning, Shao Kahn invaded Adinia, murdered my husband Jared, and forced me to be his bride. That's the story. But it's a lie. One I told, lest I lose the faith of my subjects. Or of my daughter, Kitana. The truth is, Jared was weak, destined to fail. By betraying him, I gained a better lover, and the ultimate weapon. A conqueror to unite all realms, and put them at my beck and call. Then, Kronika upended history, and I found myself confronting a future in which I had been dead for centuries. My so-called family had failed me in every way. Kitana broke my heart worst. Instead of uniting the realms, she sought to liberate them. As if the wasteland savages could ever be more than serfs. Ever the caring mother, I had to discipline my little princess. And after that, I had to discipline a Titan. Now, I have defeated Kronika, outgrown Shao Kahn and Kitana. I have no more family, no more rivals, no more gods. I sit above them all, on a throne that unites all realms and all realities. Whoever you are, wherever you are, when you are before me, kneel. For I am Sindel, Empress of Time, and you exist only to serve me.
This Sindel makes no sense. MK11 precedes the complete character rewrites of MK1, so this Sindel should be the same one that existed before Quan Chi's magical manipulations during her resurrection in MK9. This means she should be the same Sindel from MK3 and Deception. That established Sindel is completely the opposite of this Sindel, meaning this writing change exists exclusively for its shock value. Changing characters randomly like this without proper character development is terrible. Number 30.
Sub-Zero dismissed me. Raiden dismissed me. They all did, even Kronika. Until I froze the smug looks off all their faces and became the Lin Kuei's new Grandmaster. The Hourglass offers even greater prospects. With it, I'll mold history to carve my name on everyone's lips. But even its power has limits. My vision can be upended by people's individual choices. Unlike Kronika, I won't let these imperfections fester until time itself must be restarted. The Lin Kuei will be my time warriors. Traveling through history, they'll get rid of those whose actions threaten my vision. From now on, no one will overlook my greatness. I'll never be dismissed again.
Every ending from this point on, including Frost's, are quite good, and I truly like all of them. I do like how Frost's ending is centered around no longer being forgotten, which to me seems to symbolize the way the 3D era characters were on their way back into the franchise. For a long time, the 3D era was at best forgotten, and at worst looked back on with complete and utter disdain by NRS. Frost's redesign 2 presented the promise of what these older characters could become, with a little bit of a redesign. I just wish MK1 did a better job at being a fun game, because my favorite thing about it is how it brings Li Mei, Havoc, Darius, Nitara, and all the rest back at last. But Raicho and MKX and this iteration of Frost were the characters that paved the path for their compatriots' return to the front lines of the franchise. Number 29.
Kronika made big promises. Not big enough, though, for what my people suffered. Our hands built the Colosseum, the palace. We were slaves. We served or we died. Every coin I took from Shao Kahn's tributes outworld owed my people. Not that my Naknadan brothers and sisters joined arms to help me, no. Every great treasure I have won myself. I do not wait for handouts. I take what I desire. That is why I am now Khan. Netherrealm, Earthrealm, Order Realm, Chaos Realm. I want them all. And I will take them by right of Mortal Kombat.
Collector's ending making him essentially a direct follow-up to Shao Kahn, with the slight change of being motivated strictly by greed rather than conquest and subjugation, is pretty cool for this character. I do like how Collector selfishly prioritizes himself over others of his species rather than following in the more magnanimous way Reptile, Baraka, Shiva, etc. do, where they selflessly try to promote their race above all of the others in Outworld. Number 28.
Kronika's endless cycle of rewinding and restarting timelines had destroyed my spirit. But she refused to grant me either freedom or death. So I took her power to do what she could not. I would create one final, perfect timeline. Then I would rest. But the task was more difficult than I imagined. Mortals refused to follow the paths I set for them. Timeline after timeline, my frustration grew. I began to understand why Kronika had been driven to madness. Perhaps mortals do not need a Lord of Time. I will sacrifice my body and my mantle to re-sculpt the sands so that the hourglass runs itself. And for the first time in all eternity, I can rest in peace.
Immortality sounds fun until death is wanted and denied. Garrus is a tragic character in this way, and it is a fairly unique ending idea for a character's reward to be the sweet release of death and them being happy with that. Garrus is one of the cooler characters introduced in this game, and his motivations for backing Kronika and going against her in his ending are some of the major reasons why. Number 27.
I'd cut a lot of deals, but none spiffier than this. I spared Kronika, and she gave up the hourglass. The power to shape time and history to my liking? Oh, fuck yeah. I set it up so that everything came up aces. Every desire, every wish, every whim I ever had, done and done. But I realized pretty quick I'd sucked the fun out of things. Without a fight, winning was worthless. Nah, the fun wasn't in the having. It was in the getting. So, I changed things up one more time. Now what I want is always just out of reach. I gotta earn it. I score lots of wins, but not always. And when I do win, it's something to savor.
Kano's ending is quite similar to Bane's Injustice 2 ending, and I wouldn't be shocked to learn that the same writers worked on both endings. Kano has typically had fairly singular endings in each game he appears in, so it is a little disappointing that this is so similar in theme to an ending from NRS's previous game. But the hourglass framing of Kano's ending sets it apart just enough in terms of vibes to make me still like it quite a bit. Number 26.
Truth be told, it surprised me, putting down Kronika. Not bad for a scrawny kid from Wicket. Now that it's done, now what? I don't cotton to being Lord of Time, stuck on some island at the edge of nowhere. No, Aaron Black likes being in the thick of it. Seems to me time ought to stay all mashed up. It's been a hell of a ride. Gotta keep these thrills coming. Which means making sure no one gets a chance to screw this up. Once the hourglass gets dumped in the sea of blood, ain't no one ever shaping history again. What happens next? Hell if I know. And that's just the way I like it.
MK11's writers wrote some of the better endings in the entire franchise. Black preferring the unknown nature of time's passing is such a great way to resolve the Hourglass plotline, and it makes great use of the Sea of Blood too, which is an important location in the main campaign. Black's ending juxtaposes quite well with Rambo's too, as they essentially do the same thing but for different reasons. Their differing motivations says so much about both characters, and is another reason I like Black's ending so much. Number 25.
Before I was Nightwolf, I was a fool named Greycloud. Born into poverty, I resented my ancestors for giving up our future to colonizers. Kano offered a way out, promising riches if I stole my tribe's most sacred relics. I was sorely tempted. But then I realized that by saving myself, I'd be surrendering the last of my people's dignity. For the first time, I defended the Matoka's pride. Kano was unimpressed. But as I lay dying, the Great Spirit came to me. By rejecting Kano, I had proven worthy of an ancient honor. The mantle of Nightwolf, legendary defender of the Matoka. Now, as I inherit Kronika's mantle, the way before me is split. The Keeper of Time cannot also be my tribe's defender. Which path do I choose? Even here, at time's beginning, the Great Spirit's wisdom guides me. She calls me to restore history. The Matoka, I must leave to another. To the next Nightwolf. Like all our sacred relics, the Nightwolf mantle belongs to the tribe. Any Matokan can prove worthy of its power. I enjoy imagining who will defend us next.
Nightwolf's MK3 ending is my favorite from that game, and his ending in this game is a slightly worse version. Nightwolf relinquishing his connection to the Great Spirit opens a door for his gender-bent follow-up for future titles which, considering the gender-flipped characters at the end of MK1's campaign, is possible to show up at some point in a future title. Since Nightwolf hasn't shown up in the third timeline yet, it would be cool to see him alongside a heroine from his tribe. Something that is weird about this ending is the way it explains Nightwolf's backstory, since I don't think he's ever had a connection to Kano in any other game in the series. Nightwolf also always came across as one of the older characters in the Kombat cast, especially in MK9, so him being younger than Kano just doesn't feel right. Number 24.
OCP built me to serve the public trust, protect the innocent, and uphold the law. So when I found Kano dealing arms to old Detroit's gangs, I had one duty: apprehend him. I never thought the chase would take me to a different universe, let alone end in a fight with Kano's protector, Kronika. And when Kronika went down, something unexpected happened. Her power washed over me, sweeping away the limits my designers had put on my programming. For the first time, I saw the depth of OCP's corruption. It wasn't just a couple of greedy executives. It was the whole damned company. OCP is making a killing playing both sides, selling to cops and criminals. When I get home, I am bringing them to justice. It will not be fast or easy. OCP has too much cash and too much firepower for me to clean things up alone. It is a good thing this will be an interagency effort. Welcome to the future of law enforcement.
RoboCop is one of my favorite movies of all time, and this ending perfectly integrates Officer Murphy into the Mortal Kombat universe. RoboCop chasing Kano through an interdimensional portal is a great way of justifying his appearance in this game, and he works well tonally alongside the Special Forces characters in the franchise. The Hourglass's magic overriding RoboCop's Directive 4 is a genius reflection of one of the major plot points from the films as well, and that sleek Time Lord armor makes him look so cool too. Number 23.
It was an epic accident that brought the Terminator here, rather than to his own Earth's past. But it didn't take long for him to adapt. He figured that terminating Kronika and taking her hourglass gave him the best chance at achieving his mission objective: destroying humanity so that the machines prevail. Turns out the hourglass wasn't the ultimate weapon. No matter how many times the Terminator rebooted history, the war between humans and the machines always ended the same, with their mutual destruction. He realized this war was a losing game. The only way to win was not to play. So the Terminator used the hourglass to build a future where machines and humans don't fight. They cooperate. The Terminator knew that to preserve this future, no one else could learn about the hourglass. The information stored in his machine mind was dangerous. It had to be eliminated. That's why the Terminator threw himself into the infinite depths of the Sea of Blood. No one would ever find him, or unlock the hourglass's secrets. If you could ask him about it, he'd tell you he made the only logical choice. But in my book, that machine's a hero.
Not having Arnie thumbs up when he sinks into the Sea of Blood is a missed opportunity to reference the ending of Terminator 2 Judgment Day, which was directly referenced in the player-activated fatality on Scorpion in Shaolin Monks. If Boone was okay with doing it as an illusion, why not do it when the actual IP is being used? In the grand scheme of things, though, this is a minor quibble, as the rest of the ending is truly great. It is perfectly believable that with the knowledge of infinite timelines, the Terminator would come to the conclusion it does, and the way this ending subverts expectations in a clever way like this makes me like the ending even more. Number 22.
A lifetime of battle prepared me to conquer Kronika. But as the keeper of time, I must be a creator, not a conqueror. I thought of the many sons and daughters I've lost in battle through the years, imagined a better destiny for my kin. A history where the Shokan build rather than destroy. The results were catastrophic. Comfort and ease extinguished the dragon's fire that once lit the heart of every Shokan. They became weak, corrupted fools. The timeline had to start again. War, for all its tragedies, is the forge of Shokan will. My people will fight. Many will die. But I will lead us to victory. And in the aftermath, the dragon's fire will blaze in Shokan hearts for eternity.
Shiva essentially recreates the fall of Rome with her Shokan brethren in a bid to provide her people with paradise, only for that process to lead to their total debauchery and corruption of nobility. Sometimes happiness and peace can only be gained through sacrifice. In this way, Shiva learns the importance of loss, pain, and struggle in the development of her people, and even though this ending doesn't actually move the historical needle in any meaningful way, her acceptance of these facts of life is why I like this ending. Number 21.
Kronika's power overwhelmed me, such that I would have been driven mad, had I not spent centuries mastering the dark powers beyond the grasp of ordinary mortals. Now, I am the master of time and fate. But Kronika's fall proves that even titans can be defeated. Though my new power lets me roam infinite timelines and feast upon the souls of billions, I am vulnerable. To survive, I must return to the shadows, avoid confrontation, and work my will through the hands of others. More specifically, through the hands of my fellow titans. These monstrous beings are plied easily by appealing to their greed, vanity, and fear. Through them, every soul in eternity bends to my influence. In my new era, morality will be exposed as the illusion it is. The cunning will prosper, while the good suffer. This is the word of Shang Tsung. Have a nice day.
It's been a while since the Have a Nice Day ending motif has been used, and it is pretty fitting that Shang Tsung would be the one to end up with it again. Number 20.
This was my dream vacation. I saw mayhem, mutilation. It was all a gas. For a while. But these nincompoops, they didn't really get me. Not even that pretty boy, Ninja Mime. Good night, sweet prince. I'd finished just about everyone worth finishing in Earthrealm and Outworld, even lovable old Netherrealm. I was a lonely heart in search of new friends. But as luck would have it, I had just the gizmo to find them. And oh, the hourglass spoiled me. Havoc and I are going to be bosom buddies. And what's that? My new pal knows an entire realm devoted to law and order, and he exists solely to disrupt it. Well, I say, he and I need to get busy. Meet the League of Misunderstood Maniacs. We're giving Order Realm an enema. And when we're done, who knows where we'll crash next? Maybe we'll come to your house and slip live grenades under your pillow. Maybe we'll gut your favorite pet. Or maybe we'll just break your TV right now.
Seeing Havoc, Hotaru, and Sato again on its own makes this ending pretty good, but the fourth wall break at the end is peak Joker and makes this ending stand out among every other ending in the franchise. Number 19.
I held the power to shape time and destiny, but I was lost. Which Khan should be restored? My lover Kotal, or my loyal friend Kitana? I heard Kotal's voice call out to me.
Follow your heart, Jade.
So I let my heart lead, and it took me to an unexpected place. a faint memory of home and my mother. I restored my parents in Edenia, building a new era without Shao Kahn. And what a happy childhood I enjoyed. But as I matured, I sensed that I was no ordinary child. Kronika's power dwelled within me, calling me to a higher purpose. When I came of age, I ascended to godhood as the protector of Edenia. Armed with the knowledge of past timelines, I challenged Shinnok and Cetrion. Without Kronika's children pitting the realms against each other, all could be at peace, and remain so under my watchful eyes.
It's rare for Jade to get a truly great ending, so it's nice to see her get this amazing one in MK11. Ridding the realms of Shao Kahn would fix all of Jade's problems, and I especially like the way she takes down both Cetrion and Shinnok to further solidify a state of peace across the realms. Number 18.
Kronika's power was mine to share with the tribe. In the new timeline I built, Tarkatans would be slaves no more. We would rule. We easily took Edenia, then Outworld and the Netherrealm. Last, we challenged Earthrealm in mortal combat. Within 1,000 years, all realms fell to Tarkatan blades, and we have not run out of meat since.
Baraka's ending reminds me a bit of Natara's MK1 ending. This one obviously came first, but they share a thematic similarity in that each turns the denizens of the realms into a food bank to sustain their people. Baraka's is definitely more widespread than Natara's, but considering the brutal roots of Baraka, this is a great ending for his Tarkatan hordes. I do foresee Baraka's timeline devolving into something similar to Moloch's, where he's trapped in a dead reality because he's managed to kill every other living thing. But I suppose that would be fixed by simply farming all of the inhabitants from the other realms. Number 17.
Kronika said I would lead the new era's deadliest clan, but she made such promises to many, she could never keep them all. So I betrayed her before she could betray me. When Kronika's sands fused with my shadows, my ambitions grew. Why be a ruler of mortals when I could rule destiny itself? Mortals resisted, but could not stop my blanketing history in cold, endless night. All is dark. All are shadows. I have had many names. Now I am become death, destroyer of worlds.
Ending Noob's ending on the famous line from the Bhagavad Gita really seals the perversion of godhood he attains in this ending. What does an immortal do once they've shadowed all the realms of a timeline, killed every living thing, and turned them into their brainless thralls, I wonder? Number 16.
I conquered history like I conquered realms, merging billions of potential timelines into a singularity. The universe has been remade in my image, and all is as it should be. The weak serve the strong. The strong compete for power, wealth, and my favor in mortal combat. For centuries, the tournament's champion has gone undefeated. That champion is me! Hail the Conqueror! Hail Shao Kahn!
Shao Kahn's MK11 ending is incredibly similar to his Armageddon one, with the key difference being that he doesn't go insane this time around. If he conquers everything and gets bored, he's just able to reset the timeline again, creating another opportunity to ravage and pillage to his heart's content. Number 15.
Though I first denied their truth, eventually I realized the wisdom of Liu Kang's words. There is virtue greater than my mother's desired balance. Good must be allowed to flourish. But no matter how I reshaped time, rooting out evil proved impossible. Though freed from want, mortals still killed each other. Divided by realm and race, they easily justified their hate. Hubris, greed, envy. To appreciate my gifts, mortal sins must be cleansed. Which is why I baptize the realms with fire. For eons, mortals will battle evil, eventually achieving victory. And when they emerge from the darkness, they will be humbled, eager to embrace the light.
Cetrion's approach to creating a timeline of complete and utter goodness is nuanced in ways no other ending in this game manages to achieve, making the forces of light fight darkness for eons, while manipulating their ultimate victory from the background is a great way to gaslight the inhabitants of her timeline into casting off hate and warlike whims. Number 14.
Kronika had manipulated me. In timeline after timeline, she stoked my anger and fed my arrogance, turning me against Liu Kang. My nose rubbed in my own fallibility. I was humbled. How could I be worthy to accept the mantle as keeper of time? I thought that to control time and destiny fairly, I must purge myself of all human emotion. Summoning the strongest magic, I burned away my fear and anger. All that remained was pure logic. But I learned quickly that the logical choice is often not the just choice. Unless tempered by compassion and heart, logic leads to decisions no better than those based on anger or fear. Now I am once more at time's beginning. But on this journey through history, I will infuse logic with love. In this timeline, I will finally achieve peace for the citizens of all realms.
Making decisions based on data and logic can be great, but as Raiden learns in his ending, compassion and emotion need to temper logic and pragmatism, if the quality of life people experience is something that matters to the powers that be. Many people out there hold logic and data to such high esteem that it's nearly a religion of its own, but these things are truly meaningless if the goodness, health, and well-being of mankind is not considered. Number 13.
As the new keeper of time, I was overwhelmed by my responsibilities. Who was I to design the destinies of mortals? As their protector, I had spent eons safeguarding them. But while I had grown to appreciate mortals deeply, I understood precious little about their daily existence. So I used the hourglass to live hundreds of thousands of lifetimes, to span the possibilities of realm, race, gender, and faith. Most importantly, I learned the simple joy of ending each day in the warm embrace of family. Humbled by my new wisdom, I bend the arc of history not to my will, but to the service of those who must live it. While it is beyond my power to guarantee outcomes, I will give mortals the chance to have better, more peaceful lives.
NRS snuck a nice reference to Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper painting in this one. I like how Fujin discovers the best way to serve mankind is by living a million lives of various peoples and cultures. Honestly, this would be the only way to create a better world for everyone, as it would be impossible to build a world that fits everyone without that detailed knowledge of what drives people to do good or ill. No other character even thinks of doing this because they lack the humility Fujin has. Number 12.
What does it mean to wield the sands of time? To be the chosen one? It means making choices that break your heart. For the protection of all, I shared Kronika's power with the people I trust and love most. Together, we replaced the elder gods that Cetrion had betrayed, and became eternal guardians of the realms. Still, my heart longs for a simpler life. The kind one cannot have being the chosen one, let alone an elder god. what Kitana and I would not give for those simple pleasures. Perhaps in another timeline, they could be ours.
This ending reminds me a lot of Liu Kang's MK4 ending, where he chooses his duty as champion of Mortal Kombat over his own happiness. At first, I thought this was going to be the canon ending of MK11, even post-Aftermath, but that didn't end up being the case. The final line of this ending even alludes to the possibility that Liu Kang would rewrite history again to provide himself a lifetime of love with Kitana, but even that is not what happens. Somehow, Liu Kang's arcade ending is a better fit for his character than what he would actually create with MK1's timeline. Number 11.
Once I gained the Hourglass, my first thought was to rewrite history and redeem the Lin Kuei's honor. But then I thought of Bi-Han, his life consumed by evil. Before I could redeem my clan, I had to redeem my brother. With the Hourglass, I wound back time to our childhood. I studied every second of Bi-Han's life to understand why he embraced Sector's corruption, why he reveled in the vile power given to him by Quan Chi. Armed with that knowledge, I resculpted the sands of time. I changed Bi-Han's life and unfroze his heart. Now we are comrades, not rivals. Together, as joint Grand Masters, we lead the Lin Kuei in defense of Earthrealm.
Bi-Han has always had a bit of evil in him, as confirmed in his Deception and Armageddon endings, so Kuai Li Yang using the Hourglass to discover the core root of his evil infestation and expunging it from his brother's background is seriously awesome. It is about time the brothers are able to live alongside one another peacefully. Number 10.
Kronika was dead, the Hourglass taken, and Adenia's future mine to command. I had obtained all I had wanted. All except that which I had wanted most, to know the true story of my parentage. That I was a bastard I knew, born of an illicit affair between the Adenian god Argus and a mortal woman, Amara. But what I didn't know, until the Hourglass showed me, was that I and my mother were both victims. She hadn't abandoned me. Thanks to my father's lies, she had thought me stillborn. I was stolen away and left to rot among peasants, while my mother died from grief. Argus hid his scandal and his shame by killing the one person who ever loved me. For that, he will die. As will his sons, Taven and Dagon. His beloved wife Delia, she I will let live. Let her heart break as my mother's did, as she weeps over her children's corpses.
This is Rain's best ending by far. Delia would likely see this coming too once Rain gained the Hourglass, so you can imagine the tight pit in her stomach with each passing moment as she awaited the time where she would have to see her sons drowned before her very eyes. Taven and Dagon are definitely less beloved than Onaga and Shujinko by fans of the 3D era games, myself included, and I think that's why I don't mind when they are disrespected in this way. They were pretty bland characters in definite need of a redesign. They aren't irredeemable, but NRS has never wanted to give them the chance to shine since their existence is tied to the Armageddon era of the lore, which Boon and Co. have sought to skirt as much as possible. Deadly Alliance, Deception, and Armageddon are a true trilogy lore-wise, and NRS has done everything in their power to distance themselves from this later Midway era. Seeing classic characters, and yes, they are classic characters now that they are nearly 20 years old, show up in any way makes me hopeful for the future, assuming NRS can turn the disastrous MK1 ship around. Number 9.
Of all his daughters, Shao Kahn made me deadliest. He pulled me from the gutter, bound me to the blood code, made me fight for recognition. Perhaps he will commend me when I bind the blood code to the sands of time. Now a blood god, I demand more than Shao Kahn's recognition. I demand worship. I'll have temples, ministers, acolytes, prayers, and sacrifices. Rivers of blood shed in my name, purging heretics who dare to reject me. How proud Shao Kahn is now. How proud and how obedient. For the only thing better than my master's recognition is to make him beg for mine. All will worship me, or there will be blood.
Instead of the final line being, "or there will be blood," Scarlet should have said, "and there will be blood," which would match the religious tone of this ending better. Scarlet creating a timeline of blood worshippers and living as the blood goddess of reality fits her character quite well. And if this whole timeline convergence plotline continues past MK1, I would like to see the Scarlet return at some point. Ideally, MK1 will be the last part of the Hourglass arc, but NRS rarely gives me what I want in the storytelling department. Number 8.
In her last moments, Kronika tried to tempt me. Spare her, and she would rewrite history. With Jade as my queen, I would rule an eternal Osh-Tech empire that spanned all the realms. But Kronika never understood the Osh-Tech heart. Our lives are cloth, woven from choice and circumstance. Pull even one thread, that cloth is torn asunder and made worthless. Now that I am tasked with keeping time, others beg me to have their histories rewritten. But as long as the hourglass is mine, I will not shape destiny in any one being's favor. History will play out as determined by its players. Let the sands fall where they may.
The Osh-Tech philosophy reminds me a lot of intersectionality, the concept of how everything that's ever happened to a person comes together to make them who they are, meaning a person is never just one part of their identity, but a sum of all their parts. Considering the traumatic moments of my past, I connect a lot with Kotal's approach to the Hourglass here. Suffering is sometimes a necessity, even if in the moment we don't want it to be. Disparity between pain and love is what makes happiness stand out in such stark contrast after all. Acceptance of how the world is an important lesson all adults must learn at some point. Number 7.
As I gazed upon the hourglass, I knew what I must do. Restore my homeland Edenia to existence. Experiencing Edenia's verdant lands for the first time, I've never felt such joy. But that joy was short-lived. Edenia's traditions, its languages, its culture, all were completely foreign, having been forbidden to me by Shao Kahn. I fit in with my people no better than a Tarkatan. The truth was hard. Though Edenian by blood, I am not an Edenian. I am an Outworlder. Not only that, I am Outworld's Khan. I will use ancient Edenian teachings to make myself a better sovereign. With them, I will fulfill my life's mission to better all of Outworld's people, including Edenia.
Genetics and culture are different. Being genetically connected to a place isn't the same as being culturally trained. Sometimes, in the world today, I think many of us forget that culture is a learned community trait, not an animalistic instinct. A lot of Kitana's endings are centered around her becoming the Queen of Edenia and guiding her people towards peace and prosperity, but I like the way this ending complicates that idealistic vision of her future. She's an Outworlder, culturally speaking, and while that doesn't mean she can't help Edenia, it does mean that she'll never truly be one of them. Number 6.
The hourglass won. My thoughts turned toward my sister. I was born from her flesh. We shared the same blood,
I wanted us to be family. But she wanted me dead. I was not her twin. I was a monstrosity. How horrified she would be to know that I've used Kronika's power to take her place. Under my parents' adoring gaze, I rule the realms as Conum of Time. My sister's friends, her lover, they cherish me. Kitana is forgotten, her name buried in the sands of history. Yet even I can't reign forever. Like all queens, I need an heir. Someone to carry on in my name and see my will done across the eons. Unlike my sister, my daughter regards me with awe and wonder. To her, I am no abomination. I am perfection.
Melina's MK1 romance with Tanya is foreshadowed in this ending alongside her capacity for being a character garnering empathy. For most of MK history, Melina has been a bloodthirsty savage, but if there's one thing MK11 does quite well, it's the way the writers made most of the characters on the cast more complex in their endings. She is still a conqueror, she still doesn't understand the concept of compassion, but for the first time, Melina completely demonstrates her need to be loved. And I know, she's had romances with Baraka in the past, but this is different. The love between a mother and her child is unconditional, and that capacity for unconditional love is the character development Melina truly demonstrates with this ending. Number 5.
I didn't ask for this war, but once it started, I had to finish it. Hands down, Kronika was the toughest enemy I ever faced. All my tactics, my training meant nothing against a god like her. In the end, it was a battle of wills. It never occurred to me that for winning, I'd get her hourglass. At first, I hoped to right every wrong in history. But then I figured out doing it meant I'd have to decide the fates of billions. Picking who lives and who dies for eternity? It was going to kill my soul. I'd end up no better than those old men who sent us off to war not giving a shit about what would happen. And that's not the man I want to be. It's time to walk away, for good this time, leaving the pain and the ugliness behind. After all I've been through, I've earned a little peace.
Rambo giving up the hourglass because he doesn't want to be like the people who sent him off to Vietnam is a genius ending for this character. The writers could have made it so that he never went off to war in the first place or something like that, but there's a bittersweet quality to this ending that enhances it. It's awesome that Rambo finally finds peace as well, in the quiet seclusion of a mountain cottage. Number 4.
All I wanted was to fix my life. Now I have the power to fix history. Raiden warns me, I can't fix everything. Change too much and I could lose Vera, lose Jackie. But this power is bigger than us. If I think only about helping myself, what kind of officer am I? What kind of man? I've been lucky. My family and I have lived the American dream. But most people who look like me haven't had that chance. I owe it to them to put things right. And I'm not waiting centuries for people to get woke when I've got the power to speed things up. I don't get it right the first time, or the second, or even the third. But eventually, I knock it out of the damn park. My family's back. The world's a better place for everyone. Turns out, you can have everything. Anyone who says you can't needs to dream bigger.
Jax fixing the world's primary problem of an us versus them dichotomy is great, and considering the time MK11 came out, it fit in with the political zeitgeist at the time too. Unlike many other diversity representations in media during this time though, this fits Jax quite well, as it is perfectly believable that he would risk his family and himself to create a more just world for everyone. It's a trait he definitely passed on to Jackie, as we'll see later on this list. Number 3.
For the second time in my life, I kicked the living shit out of an immortal. My prize? The hourglass. Now I can change history. Talk about redonkulous cosmic power. But despite what you may think about Beverly Hills girls, that is so not my style. The chosen one thing is for the Liu Kangs and Katanas of the world. In the next timeline, all I want is to be a model soldier, to command the next generation of special forces. We were born to defend Earthrealm. Just like the heroes that inspired me. My parents. Okay, so there's one more thing I want. My mom back. Not just for me, but for Dad. He and my mom deserve a happily ever after retirement. We'll never know how different things were the last time around. But we'll be together. A family. And that's all that matters.
Kotal Khan is my favorite of the new NRS era characters, but Cassie Cage is a close second for me. A lot of people memed on the Combat Kids in the lead up and fallout of MKX, but am I the only one who actually likes these characters? Cassie's a down-to-earth, kick-ass heroine, and the other 3 newer Special Forces members are cool too. Cassie's ending in MKX was an absolute travesty, considering the way it trivialized one of MK's canonically most powerful characters, and since this ending is a truly great one for her, I like it even more. Number 2.
This whole adventure, capital I insane. I marry Sonya? I have a kid who actually likes me? Inquiring minds want to know how the hell that happens. So I get the hourglass to show me how kicking Shinnok's ass, which I did beautifully, turned me from Hollywood megastar into global icon. So far, so good. Until I let that fame screw me up. Didn't hit rock bottom until I saw just how badly I'd let down my little girl. I finally got what old man me was saying about needing humility and maturity. But I also knew I couldn't get there without living the same life he did. So, I restored the timeline just as it was. With one tiny little difference. Sonya's story won't end underneath the rubble of some busted-up Netherrealm castle. Because Johnny Cage flicks always have happy endings.
Just like in the Kotal Khan ending, Johnny Cage learns to accept his future suffering and failure, as it is an important step in his development into a genuinely good guy. I can't fault him for the little selfish indulgence of bringing back Sonya Blade though. Number 1.
The hourglass was there for the taking, and I could think of only one thing. Dad. Killed. Made a revenant. Resurrected. Since coming back, Dad's never forgotten the things he did for Quan Chi. I thought with the hourglass, I could fix all that. And I can. Dad won't die in that massacre. He'll never be a revenant. But turns out, what my guts told me since the start of all of this is true. Dad and Mom got together when he was in treatment. He doesn't suffer. They don't meet. And I'll never be born. And you know what? I'm good with that. I'm not just protecting Dad. I'm protecting everyone he'll risk his life to save. In my shoes, it's what he would do. It's what a Briggs does. I know you'll never hear this, but... Goodbye, Dad. I love you.
Okay, so this ending is legitimately sad. Did you all hear the pain and sorrow in Jackie's voice at the end? She knows she's sacrificing not only her life, but her very existence, her soul, to save her father from his suffering. The only good acts are ones done without any expectation of reward, and that's what Jackie does here. She knows her father, her friends, and everyone else she's ever known will never know what she did for them by saving her father from becoming a revenant. I've always loved Mortal Kombat for its lore and story, but there's few moments in the franchise that really pull at the heartstrings, and this ending does so in spades. And that's the video, my guys. What's your favorite MK11 ending? Let me know in the comments section below, and while you're there, consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. If you have a moment right now, you may like one of my other videos on the screen. Regardless of what you choose to do, have an awesome day, gamers.